Hello, everyone. Welcome to 1 Million Minds. Hello, Balaji. How are you today?
Hey Rajni, doing great, man.
As usual, there is always so much things going on in the AI space, and we like to play around with a lot of them. So I'm glad we are here. Some brand new topics, or at least update on some of the topics we've covered. I'm excited about getting started. Again, the weather's gotten better in Texas, so you can tell I'm have a lot more energy instead of getting dried out in the sun. So I'm happy to get started. How are things
Happy
with
to hear
you in
that.
California?
Yeah, it's cooling down here. I'm almost like a part sweater thingy, but yeah, I think I'm liking this fall weather already. So hopefully it doesn't become too cold.
That's awesome. All right, let's jump into our first topic because it is exciting, and I know you've done some work on it. So I'm excited about sharing that with the audience. We've talked about this a little bit before, where converting text to audio is going to be big. Not just regular, just text to English, changing languages, adding more context, changing the tone. We've covered a lot, including 11 Labs, and I know I was just reading about this from 11 Labs. Is an unprecedented demand for long form audio generation from users. There were several challenges because especially when you have like two people talking, right? Being able to change whatever you say to a different language and have somebody else kind of talk to you is in a process between sentences. All that adds to the complexity. But if you just had one language, it's a big audio book. Reading through that with just one voice is a lot easier. But if it's a dialogue, being able to um, fix each audio segment the right way and convert them before we using. So they have released something called projects where you can generate an entire audiobook with a click of a button. You can breathe life into your narratives by assigning specific text fragments and speakers. So I feel like it's a great tool, and I think something that we can use for our own, for our own podcast that we're doing right now. Convert all of our YouTube videos to podcasts in different languages. So I just feel like Lemon Lab is one of them doing it, but I feel like it will be a great tool. We are big on actual use cases for AI tools, right? And this is a big one that we can use. So I know you've had a chance to explore a little bit more, Balaji. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, absolutely. We have been talking about this use case even as early as the beginning of this year. Like, can you have a AI version of a kid's storybook that gets read out? Or a lot of these concepts are now coming to reality with some of the tools. I've been playing with our own transcripts, right? So we create these episodes. This is our 26th episode. So I took our 25th episode transcript and I thought, okay, how can I take this script and make a podcast? And we both know we kind of run this show and tell practical AI type of a show, but that doesn't
Mhm.
right away translate into a podcast because the show portions are going to be missing. So you need some help
Right.
from AI to condense it, to reformat, to get to a version where it's not like you're pointing something at the screen and in a podcast, right?
Yes.
People are not going to get it. So that's one thought I had, and I walked that rabbit hole and came out of the other end with something useful. So I'm happy to report that was a exercise that worked out well. So let's walk through. Um, okay. So essentially, what you see here is I used again as usual. I test GPT-4 or Anthropic Claude or Bard, right? So which one? So in this exercise, Claude came out to be a much better version, primarily because it supports longer context length. So I can paste.
Mhm.
Basically, I took our episode, which is 35 minutes or so. The transcript wouldn't fit in the context length of if you say Bard or even regular GPT-4. But this one,
Mhm.
it only took two copy paste to get the whole material into the system for it to create this. So I kind of practical problems. You take a transcript that is 40 minutes, it's so many words. None of these systems are taking this in a single shot. First issue, right? So now I have to go through this
Mhm.
and break it down into two segments, which is okay because for a podcast, you can have two segments. The next problem is tagging. So I had to go through the transcript. Again, if you are lucky enough to have one of these systems which can tag speaker by itself, great. Right? If you don't, then you have to manually tag who said what.
Makes
Now,
sense.
these are the two things that you need practically done before you get to this stage. Now, then the rest is easy. Paste it, and I started with a prompt basically saying, we are hosting this podcast, and here's a transcript, and this is the format. Give me podcast style um, material. And it spit out this, which is extremely big content. Then I realized I did not give AI the context of what kind of condensed material I need. So, and the style. So these are two things. Again, I don't want to go into every single version I tried, but these are all things I missed out. I missed out telling it that use our style of speech, use this to condense to 10 minutes. So eventually I got to a version which got condensed to 10 minutes of spoken content. Then I figured out by trial and
Got
error,
it.
okay, I have to give it some context. And then I got a version that worked pretty well. Um, that's the first stage. Now you have this podcast style material condensed with the information mostly intact. You have to review it again. It's not like auto magic, right? Sometimes it makes mistakes, so you have to review the content. Then I went into the next tool that's available. For this, I use, again, like you mentioned, the 11 Labs project, which is fairly new. At the time I was doing this experiment sometime over the weekend, I came across the Speechify. The user interface was very intuitive. So I'm going to share that here. So basically, they had this version where they give you blobs of paragraphs, right? You can copy paste whatever you want, put a talking head to that. So I literally took
Okay.
the Claude created paragraph for each person talk track, and I pasted it and assigned a face, right? So that's how I came up with this script. Now,
Got
first
it.
thing I noticed, this is practical problem, right? You say, give me 10 minutes worth of spoken language. Um, it's 6 minutes. It depends on who's speaking. It depends on
Right.
who is speaking, how are they speaking, what's the accent. It's a practical problem, right? So again, that's okay. It's a first attempt, right? But it still came up with a decent script that I can paste and create this podcast. As simple as that. At this point, I'm fairly happy. I assigned some talking heads. I even summarized with another. This I used GPT-4 to summarize because it was good at summarizing the material. So I assign a person to introduce our podcast and added a little intro. What do you call music? And this is the version that it came up with. And let's play that.
In this milestone 25th episode, we dive deep into the world of AI adoption. Why are companies struggling to integrate AI fully? We discuss the hidden AI elements in everyday tools, the challenges of data privacy in an AI driven world, and innovative solutions for enterprise implementation. We discuss open source models like Falcon 180B, as well as how C3 AI is revolutionizing business functions.
Apology. Welcome back to the show.
That's you,
I
Raj.
can't believe we've already made it to 25 episodes.
Just like me.
Wow. How time flies. Thank you, as always, for bringing the tech wizardry every week. Our practical AI adventures have been super fun.
You said it, Raj. This has been an absolute blast. I love that we go
I
beyond
like the tone.
and actually build demos for people to see AI in action. It really brings the concepts home. And thanks for compiling those bite-sized AI news nuggets. They're gold.
I'm going to stop here. So you get the idea, right? So now we have three speakers, one introducing us and two of us again. And then you have this option. This is fun, right? Now we are getting to a stage where you can add emotion. Again, it's not
Angry. Got it.
right. So basically, I think I chose one of this as newscaster or whatever tone. But it's fun, right? Now you can play with what tone you like, and then you can get to the emotion piece of it. I think they are making progress there. I was quite happy at this
Can
point that I
each
can
can
create.
each line be a different tone, or do you pick it for the entire user.
Oh no, each block of text, you can pick this person and assign a tone to them,
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
right?
So at
And,
some
and
point, I get angry with you during the conversation. That's cool.
correct. It's not this particular tool. Again, we walked through another episode where a tool lets you highlight a text and assign an emotion. I don't think you are able to do that here, right? You cannot highlight text and say
Got it.
this portion is angry, and then you cool off at this portion. You can.
Right. I think that's where Levin Lab lets you, especially in audiobook, like each line you can highlight and add some variability to it. It's a lot of editing, but at the end of the day, once, just like you, I'm assuming this is your first time. You spend a lot of time on this, but going forward, it should be a lot faster, right?
Right. I think just to get a sense of what kind of time, right? So I this is like a 40-minute transcript. So I spent nearly, let's say, 30 minutes tagging speakers. And you can do it faster, obviously, if you have a tool that, or you can omit that step because you have a tool that already tags it. Majority of time was spent there. And then the next thing was playing with the prompts. Now that they have a clue what to give the system, next time it's going to be easier, right? So overall, I think probably I would say 3 hours from getting, again, I have some more portions to show that includes all of the portions I did. But it's the first time, right? The next time onwards, it's going to get faster. So that's the first version, Rajni. I think we didn't get to the part where we can clone our voice. This is the next version. We'll do that. We'll clone our voice and reapply. So it sounds like us, right? Right now, it's somebody else. So let's move quickly into another tool that we showed last time, which is Meta Seamless M4T. So now you have a Hugging Face page or project that you can run this and get some work done. So what I did was I copied one of those paragraphs. You said it, Roger, and then I said translate it to my native language, Tamil. So the exercise here is, can I go from English to Tamil to Hindi to many languages quickly at a click of a button? Right? And again, it does a decent job, but practical problem. This doesn't get the figure of speech or idioms and phrases and Urban Dictionary. None of this is available. It literally
literal translation.
Yeah, literal translation. So there's definitely going to be editing involved to get it straightened up, because that's the first thing I found, right? So you might still need a human to walk through this step. English is great. It knows what it does, but another language is a whole different problem. So let's walk through what I did here in this. So I literally went through this exercise, took each paragraph, pass it through the M4T and create a Tamil version, put a Tamil voice on it. This was fun because even last episode, someone asked, hey, do you have a Tamil version? So I think just trying to show how this worked out. This worked out great in this sense, but look at the time, practical problem. You took a 6-minute English, now it became almost 9-minute Tamil. This is another problem, right? Each language has a way of saying things. So long story short, I found that it's going to require a little bit of human involvement, because if you're going after time, which most of us are, we are not going to put arbitrarily long material for people to consume. It's tough. Time factor, it expands and contracts based on the language spoken and the sentence structure and all kind of speed of. But it worked out great. I mean, I can play this just to get a sense.
பாலாஜி, இடத்துக்கு மீண்டும் வருக. நாம் ஏற்கனவே 25 எபிசோட்களில் வந்துவிட்டோம் என்று என்னால் நம்ப முடியவில்லை. ஆஹா, நேரம் எப்படி பறக்கிறது! எப்போதும் போல ஒவ்வொரு வாரமும் தொழில்நுட்ப வழிகாட்டியை கொண்டு வந்ததற்கு நன்றி. நமது நடைமுறை AI சாகசங்கள் மிகவும் சுவாரஸ்யமாக இருந்தன.
நன்றாகச் சொன்னீர்கள் ராஜ்.
So I'm going to stop there. So you can see it's funny because it's not spoken that way, right?
It's very it's not colloquial Tamil. This is very textbook Tamil. Yeah,
textbook Tamil, right? So that's pretty much it. I think that's what I was able to achieve with this what do you call experiment. So I was pretty happy at the end of like 4 hours that I was able to create 2 versions of our transcript in 2 languages, and with a little bit of tinkering and editing, you have it. You can publish it.
Agree. And I think what we'll come back to the audience is another version where we can overlay our real voices on it just to see. So again, we just showing people how they can create content once and then use it, redistribute it, whether it's for your personal or your company. There's so many options at this point. So
And
we'll
one
come
pro
back.
tip,
I think we'll build out this. Yeah,
one pro
sure.
tip I have is don't go after exact verbatim translation if you're a creator. I think you're going after the information content, and you're going to be much more happier. If you're going after exact translation of transcript, it's not happening. These things are not ready yet. It's not producing that.
I guess I agree, but we'll continue to kind of move forward this experiment and come back with. I'm excited about building on it with our own voices and different languages, and how do other people? Because anytime a movie gets translated, I'm pretty sure some of these like Chinese movies that get translated. This is, do you want to eat a samosa, right? Like whatever they say, they have to translate to some local thing. So it'll be interesting to see what are our options to make it more acceptable by the people, the language that we're changing it into,
That's
other than
right.
using a
That's
human, right? Yeah.
correct. Correct. All
Okay,
all
perfect.
well
All right.
said.
Yeah, let's move on. I'm gonna uh, run through a couple of these topics a little bit faster. So one of them is bot version 2 is here. So I think the big advantage of anything Google is you have access to your Gmails, your documents, your Drive, and you can say, "Hey Bart, go look into our meeting notes in Google Docs and create an agenda summary in an email format." Right. So in theory, that's a great way to leverage this. But I think at this point, I've played with it a little bit, but I want to play with it. Maybe we'll report back next time. There's Google has advertised a lot of prompts, and some of the responses or what it comes up with is very funny. So really what I'm saying is it's not 100% bad, but it's not quite there, right? So there's some hallucination happening. So it does have a feature where you can double check your answers with the Google search. So you can highlight, hey, these don't look right, assuming that Google search has the right answer. So there's a lot of I see potential, right? That's really the best way to describe it. Is I see potential when you can integrate a powerful AI with your work, but its BART is not quite there. I know Google's working on Gemini. Maybe the upcoming model that will fix it. But right now, it's headed in the right direction, but it's not quite where like ChatGPT is. If we have that powerful context and working within our Google documents, I think they have a winner. But we are working towards it. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, Balaji.
I
Any
I ha-
thoughts on that?
I had a chance to look at the news flash. I think we spoke about this
Yeah.
earlier, right? How Microsoft is approaching, how Google. Again, one part of their game is picks and shovels, sell it to people so they can build it. On the other side, it's the productivity suite they have with Office or with Google Docs and Google range of products, right? I think what I am hearing from what you're saying is that I think context length or how big of a document, what can it do in terms of ingest, right? How big can it be is a
Hmm.
key role here, right? If you say, hey Bart, go do this to my spreadsheet or this document and find this, it has to have this large enough context to go consume it. And otherwise, I have seen even manually feeding, when you break up stuff, it loses the trail, right? So essentially, it's going to come up with
Yes.
a completely different variation, which is a problem. We all know that AI is great in coming up with variations, but you don't want it to be in the. If you split a document to 10 pieces, you don't want 10 variations for the same document.
That's true.
So these are all the practical issues here, but great. I think they're inching along. That's where the value is to get it to this productivity uh,
Yeah, I'm
tools.
trying. There's going to be multiple generations, right? I'm interested in seeing what the next generation offers, but the vision and the use case, it makes a lot of sense. So I
It does.
hope we'll be able to access a version that works for us. All right, moving on to the next one. Amazon. I think we've talked about this. Alexa, Siri, and the Google. I don't even know what that is. Just Google, I guess. They all these assistants, virtual assistants, they haven't taken them off as much as we thought, just because they don't have. For example, when we talk to Alexa, sometimes it's funny, but really they don't have a personality. They can hold long conversations with you. So some of those are some of the shortcomings of our existing model. But what if you can get it better, where you can add generative AI to Alexa? So I feel like that'll be a great. It just feels like a great use case because there's so many echoes and all around the world. So I think what Amazon announced in this press event is the latest models have been specifically optimized for voice and things we know that customers love, like having access to real-time information, efficiently controlling the smart home, and getting most of the home entertainment. So those are things that we do normally, but I think some of the things that it helps is they've given a Alexa personality, right? And then you can, so we're doing the demo, they were talking, you pause to explain something, and then you continue the conversation. So those are the kind of things we can do right now. But as you can see, that if you can actually have conversation with the natural pauses and a more free flowing conversation, I feel that these assistants get a lot more personal. And if they can remember conversations from before, I think there's certain nuances and usability goes up. So I don't know if you use Alexa or you have Google Assistant or maybe
I
Siri.
I
Any
use
thoughts on that?
Alexa. Yeah, absolutely. I have Alexa, and I think partly I would think the previous generation versus what we call AI now. The key difference here when it comes to speech to text or figuring out responses, I'm pretty sure, is that we used to work with probabilistic models before, which is the hidden
Mm-hmm.
Markov model or Viterbi. These are all like probabilistic, and it is working on structured data for most part, and it stays within the lane. Now you're walking into this AI, which is heuristic, which is what makes it much more fun, natural sounding. I think that's a natural way. If I were to guess, I think that's what the transition is right now. Now the responses are going to sound much more natural, like a human, because we are using heuristics to respond to certain things. Um, so this is great. I like it. I wish it's
You
much more
know,
natural than it is right now, and I wish they don't listen to me all the time and not delete my data.
I think one of the things that's going to happen, I think we've talked about this a little bit, and maybe we've covered in, I think, videos too, is there is a loneliness epidemic, right? The more these assistants get a little bit more, um, how do you say, talkative, and they understand you and they can continue a conversation, I think
Correct.
they're going to become very popular because it's kind of what you see sometimes Siri's being used as a friend to talk to, whether it's to practice English or whatever it is, not the regular use case, right? So imagine kind of moving away from that to actually having a quote unquote AI companion to be able to talk to. Uh, I feel like there's, and it's already in everybody's home, right? It's not you selling a new product to get this into people's home. Being able to update the intelligence behind it, the digital intelligence behind it, I think is going to lead to some really cool use cases. So I'm excited about. We know the first order benefits, but I'm trying to see what are the second order benefits, or can we create applications within Alexa's app store now that we have access to everybody's homes already, right? So it's going to be a huge opportunity area for entrepreneurs.
100%. I think there's an ecosystem creating Alexa type apps within the Amazon, right? So again, what can they come up with now that this is getting much more fun? I'm eager to see.
Yes. All right.
Right?
Last one. I think this is mostly just our a validation of some of our things that we've been talking for a while. A lot of the chatbot, when people think about chatbot, was external facing. Hey, our customers, people are coming to talk to us. Instead of having a chatbot that can only go like three, like almost like a phone tree. If you ask me this question, I know the answers. Otherwise, go talk to a rep. So that's external facing. But I think a lot more companies are finding value in more of the knowledge based chatbot. Morgan Stanley just released an internal AI system where it is trained on 100,000 of research documents and reports. So you can, as an internal Morgan Stanley employee, you can ask any questions on it, finance related, from market trends to legal process. Imagine the your smart coworker who doesn't get annoyed by you asking questions. That's what these chatbots are evolving into. I know McKinsey did a similar thing. cases and more. So it's almost like really you're talking to somebody. In
Pause
the,
for a second, Rajni. I'm sorry.
What happened?
I don't know why you disconnected and rejoined. Can you start again on the McKinsey?
Okay.
Pause. Okay, pause. Take a breath and start.
All right. So McKinsey has done a similar thing last month, where they have arming employees with chatbot for anything from a consulting, research, data, past cases, and more. So it makes a lot of sense that a chatbot on my company knowledge. I think we're expecting a lot more companies do this, and not. I know the bigger companies are doing this now. It's going to go down to some of the SMBs are going to be doing this. A lot of these healthcare companies. I just feel like it's such a slam dunk use case for a lot of folks to train their own company data, and it translates from a user experience. I can talk to my smartest coworker without annoying and asking a lot of questions. So I'm excited about that.
100%. I think even though customer support is the first thing that's taking shape in terms of productivity, and we call it the chatbot facing customer, but this is basically talking to your data, right? It's a very generic form. This version of generative AI has opened up possibility for us to actually talk. Opened up another modality, right? We could type to the data. Now we are talking, and maybe in the future we can interact with actions, right? With visual communication. It's all following the same path in a general sense. Like first you go after text, and then your audio, and then your video. Why I am excited is this evolution, right? Where I think of it this way sometimes. When a thought happens in your head, you got to take that and verbalize it, and then you have to speak it, and then you have to type it. So imagine the latency we are bringing into the process. Of course, we filter through our own brains, and maybe one day the fact the thought happens, there's a chip that takes it and goes to action, right? But now we are cutting one more step. We don't have to type. That's a great improvement, saving time for you to actually take your whatever is in the brain to bring it to text. You can speak it.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, right? There's what is a company that Neuralink? They're doing that for people who cannot talk, where it's basically reading their brains. That's one. So I know some work is done for very specific, but it could become mainstream. The other one is, I think the iPhone or the watch. They come in with gestures, so you're going to see a lot of people just randomly moving their fingers around in air and wondering, because when first pods or the wireless headset came in, people were just talking, walking around. I thought they were talking to me, right? They walked around because usually you saw wires, and now you're like, is with you. I can tell with the girl with the longer hair. I'm like, is she talking to me or is she? So I have fallen victim to talking to people who are not trying to talk to me, right? So
Right.
I'm pretty sure the gestures in the air is going to cause some ripples, but I think all kinds of modalities are going to get involved in this. So it's going to be interesting how efficient it's going to get. But I think nothing to me, again, maybe I'm old school, is the natural language processing capability. Just being able to talk to anything, get answers, it's a big step for us. So I'm
Absolutely. I think that's what is driving or fueling this wave, right? Because now natural language queries, right? Can you actually, even when you type, can you type it in a natural way without asking it in a very formal way, right? When you speak, can you? So this is what is driving some of this ahead, because I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, guys, that brings to a conclusion another exciting episode. We will see you again next time with more hands-on experiments that we just talked about. So until then, have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Rajni. Feel free to drop your comments on our feed. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. We are definitely looking at comments, and if you have any questions, if you want to partner with us, feel free to reach out to us on comments. I would love to talk to everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.